A lot of people have asked us to do a video review of the Sig pistols, and I'm not an expert on them. I do like Sigs. I've owned Sigs in the past, but I don't own any right now. But I was able to get a hold of this one, and I figured I'd go through some cool parts of a Sig. What we're looking at here is a Sig 226, which is a 9mm version. We've got a 22 upper, a Crimson Trace laser grip, and then this is the magazine for the 22 upper conversion. It's a double action, single action, which means, I'm going to go ahead and decock it. We've had a video explaining this, but I'll go through it real quickly. Assuming you have rounds in your magazine, you would load your magazine. And then if you weren't going to shoot right away, you can use this decocking lever. With my thumb there, I was able to bring the hammer down without touching the trigger on a live round without having the round go off. And so now let's say I holstered it and I needed to bring the pistol into use. I would bring it up, and without flipping any safeties or doing anything special, I'm just going to double check one more time. Without doing anything special, I can pull the trigger, and that double action trigger is going to do two things. It's going to pull the hammer back and release it. Assuming there were rounds in the pistol, it would cycle, and we'd be in this position. The action of the slide going back and forward would lock the hammer back. I could let go of the pistol or the trigger, and now I'd have a very light trigger pull for the follow-up shots in single action mode. And that means that the trigger only has to do one thing. The hammer's already back, so it only has to do one thing: drop the hammer. And that's okay to do that on a center fire pistol like this. If this was a rim fire, I wouldn't want to dry fire it. Dry firing is pulling the trigger and letting the hammer go down without a round in the chamber. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the slide again. So that's the basic operation of the Sig 226. I like it. It's a great gun. It's in use by a lot of law enforcement and some military. Very heavy duty, good gun. It's got a 2-dot sight. The front sight, I'll put it in front of this grip here to see it. There's a dot here and a dot here. You bring it into place by aligning those 2 dots on top of each other. Very fast to acquire. A lot of people really prefer that style of sight. The grips are easy to remove by these 2 screws on both sides. And when you remove them, you basically get 2 pieces. Now this one is joined together, but you'd have 2 pieces like this. If I were to remove these and replace them with these Crimson Trace grips, you can see that there's 2 batteries, just a little ribbon of wire that connects them, and you've got 2 points here and here, so that either right-handed or left-handed shooters can easily get to it. And you can either use your thumb on this side to engage that laser, or just your shooting grip with your finger over here, depending on if you're right or left-handed. So imagine if it was on the pistol instead of the grips that are on it now. You'd have the laser coming right out of this little area on the right side of the frame. And I'll go ahead and engage the laser again. You can see there it is. Poke myself in the eye with it. That's not a good thing. It's real easy to install, and it's real easy to uninstall. It's very nice having a laser in your grip like that, because you can holster it. You can use it with either hand, and it's a little easier to deal with for a lot of people than having a light or a laser down here. Again, because your firing grip usually engages the laser when you want it to be engaged. Now this one, I'm not sure how it's going to show up on the video, has been stippled. In other words, the smooth grips have been roughed up a bit, which gives it a bit of a sandpaper type texture, which is great if your hands are sweaty or dirty, muddy or bloody. And all those things can happen in a gunfight. So a little easier to hold on to. It's been slightly modified that way. Now the way a Sig comes apart, like most modern pistols, is you remove the magazine, bring the slide back, engage the slide lock, which holds the slide back, and on a Sig it's got this takedown here. And now I'm going to let the slide go forward, and it simply comes apart. A lot of people like this style because it's not like the Glock where the trigger has to be pulled. So a lot of people consider that to be a little safer. So now we're looking at the 2 different uppers. We've got its 9mm upper and its 22 caliber upper. Quite obvious which one is which. Basically the same dimensions and the same operation. The springs are just a little different because the 22 kicks less. It doesn't have as much power to operate, but slides onto the pistol, basically replaces the 9mm upper. Let me get that spring into alignment. Again, I bring it all the way back. I engage the slide lock just like I did before. Now I bring up that lever and it's locked back into place. And now it's the same operations. So probably about 90% of this pistol is exactly the same. The only difference is, instead of using a high capacity 15 round 9mm magazine, I'm using I believe it's a 10 round 22 long rifle magazine. It'll insert the same way, operates the same way. However, now I'm only shooting a 22 caliber round. For training and for practice, it's a lot cheaper. One difference that might make a difference for some people is that these sights happen to be 3-dot sights. And as I mentioned, the typical SIG uses a 2-dot sight. Minor difference, but can be changed if necessary. This one's also an adjustable sight. A lot of times people don't use these necessarily just for training, but just for going out to the range and enjoying themselves. Sometimes it's nicer to have an adjustable sight. We saw it's very simple to make that changeover. Something you can do at the range. No tools required, no special skills or anything, the same skills that would be required to clean your weapon. Engage that lock, and now it's with the 9mm magazine, we're back to having a 9mm pistol. So SIGs, very well made guns. The only reason we don't review them so much in our videos is we don't happen to own a bunch of them personally, so we have to do something like this where we can get our hands on one that's borrowed. So that's the 9mm Sig 226 with the Crimson Trace laser grip and the Sig 22 upper. So this is actually made by Sig.